All right, man, peace. So, brothers, I recently caught this very interesting segment here with Mr. Shawn Porter. And for those of you who followed my boxing videos on this channel for a while, you'll know that I've been the one who's been trying to put the onus on the notion that the real fight that quote-unquote boxing fans should be pushing for is not Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. Because as we all know, Errol Spence is laid up right now, and a Terence Crawford fight between Errol Spence and Terence is not going to occur until 2021. There's no doubt in my mind when it comes to that, because it's going to take Errol Spence at least another 3 to 4 months to get his body together. Then they're going to announce a comeback fight, which most likely is going to be a showcase fight. And then after that, he'll get back to fighting his mandatories. When it comes to Mr. Terence Crawford, he has to approach this situation logistically. And I believe that Bob Arum has finally come to understand that, because at one point he stated that Shawn Porter would be the least of the fighters on the PBC that he would want Terence Crawford to fight, which is understandable because he brings the most risk and the least reward, at least at the time when Bob Arum made that statement. When I say he, I'm talking about Shawn Porter. He's a fighter that you know, if you put your fighter into the ring with Shawn Porter, Shawn is going to take out his pound of flesh. There's no doubt about that. I've always stated that that fight, the Shawn Porter versus Terence Crawford fight, is the fight that needs to be made, because it will put the onus on Errol Spence whenever he's ready to come back, to understand that he cannot use the excuse that I'm on the PBC side and Terence Crawford is on the top ranked side. And he's never really made that excuse anyway. The only thing that Errol Spence has ever said is that I want to get the belts from the PBC fighters first, and then I'm going to fight Terence. But the real issue is that Terence Crawford is 33 years old and he's not getting any younger. Bob Arum understands that. Bob Arum also understands that there are no other fighters on the top ranked side for Terence Crawford to fight. So just to get to the point, now all of a sudden we're hearing that there are rumblings that Bob Arum wants Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford to fight next. And I have to wonder if someone has been sending Bob Arum some of my videos, or if he's just starting to think logically, because that is the best alternative for both fighters who claim that they're being avoided. Allegedly, they're being avoided by everyone. So why should they not choose to fight one another? Well, we're going to see here Mr. Shawn Porter is going to come up with his first excuse. He's going to claim that he and Terence Crawford are such close friends, and if they decide to fight, it's not going to be because Bob Arum stipulated it. It's going to be because they both decide to fight. Well, Shawn Porter, I have news for you. Terence Crawford is already on record as saying that he's going to fight whoever they put in front of him. So Bob Arum is putting you in front of Terence Crawford. You are going to have to fight him eventually, most likely early next year. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Hello everyone, welcome inside BBC Boxing. I'm Kate Abdo with two-time welterweight champ Shawn Porter, three-division champion Abner Mares with us as well. Shawn, I'll ask you, because we all heard of Bob Arum recently bring up your name as someone that he would love to see face his golden goose, Terence Crawford.
Who the fuck dresses Shawn Porter? It has to be either Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder. Or maybe it's the same fashion stylist that dresses up Ronald McDonald. Because what the hell is going on with this brother's outfit, man?
Yeah. Do you consider Terence a friend, first of all?
Yeah, for sure.
Would you fight a friend?
You know,
What the hell is with all that stuttering and hesitation, Mr. Shawn Porter? You're on record as stating that you'll fight anybody. I don't want to hear this bullshit about he's my friend, I don't want to fight my friend. Floyd Mayweather was friends with Zab Judah. They fought. Muhammad Ali was friends with Jimmy Ellis. They fought. You're going to have to get into the ring with Terence Crawford. That's why, once again, this is the fight that you guys should be pushing for, not the Errol Spence fight. Errol Spence was just involved in a catastrophic car crash. Stop worrying about Errol Spence. You'll have plenty of time to call him out once he gets his shit together. Shawn Porter is the guy, because it's going to allow for so many things to be proven. We all know that Shawn Porter is the litmus test in the welterweight division. You have to beat Shawn Porter to declare yourself a great welterweight champion, or a borderline great welterweight champion. Shawn Porter is a great fighter, he's just not a great champion. So Terence Crawford will be able to make his bones at 147 pounds by defeating a Shawn Porter. I think that Shawn Porter has a couple of issues right now. He knows that if he gets into the ring with Terence Crawford, who he considers a friend, he's going to have to go all out. And he knows what he does to fighters in that ring. He knows that he puts a certain amount of pressure and pain, dare I say, on his opponent, that it's going to take a very long time for his opponent to move past. And I think that he has a certain level of affection for Terence, that he does not want to do that. But this is the fight game. This is the prize fight game. So you guys are out there fighting for money. This is not backyard bum fights.
I've said this before in a lot of interviews that if Terence and I fight, it'll be because we decide to fight. He's got a big fight coming up this weekend. I think Bob Arum is jumping the gun. You know?
No, Bob Arum is not jumping the gun. Bob Arum is doing his job as a promoter. He's throwing your name out there so that people understand who's going to come up next. In the same way, after Errol Spence defeated you, Danny Garcia jumped in the ring. You think that just happened? Of course, they'd already talked that out before the fight occurred. So that's the job of a promoter, of a management team. Prep the viewers for who's going to come next. And your name is up next on that list.
Obviously, you know, we expect Terence to win this fight, but, you know, if he's expecting to make this fight between Terence and I, that's not going to happen. The fight that between...
That's what you're saying. I promise you that when you call up Terence Crawford, he's going to give you a different message. Terence Crawford wants to fight a lot of these top-name guys over at the PBC. A lot of his fanboys come on my channel and they do what fanboys do, which is act like chicks. I've never stated that any of these guys were going to beat Terence Crawford. I've always stated that I think that Terence is going to beat them, but he has to show me. All I can say is what I think based on the eye test, based on what I understand about boxing and what I see from Terence Crawford. He does not have many weaknesses other than the fact that sometimes he gets overly exuberant in the ring and overly aggressive sometimes. Sometimes he leads with his chin, and that can be a problem later on down the line should he get into the ring with some of the harder punchers with the PBC or just in the welterweight division. We already saw that Mean Machine hurt him earlier in their fight, so we'll see what happens. If you're Terence Crawford, I don't understand how you could possibly turn down a Shawn Porter fight, knowing that it should be the gateway to many other fighting opportunities with the PBC. You have to make this fight if you're Terence Crawford. And if this fight breaks down between Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter, I don't want to hear any more bullshit from the Terence Crawford fanboys. I don't want to hear anything else from you guys. I also don't want to hear anything about Shawn Porter and how he fights everybody.
It's not what happened if he and I make the fight. Top Rank won't have anything to do with it, and neither will PBC.
I promise you that both Top Rank and PBC will have something to do with this fight happening. Because Shawn Porter, you are not your own boss.
Wouldn't you want to make that fight though?
It's all about the friendship.
It's all about the friendship. I thought it was all about the fight game, bro. This is not tiddlywinks, man. Once again, this is not backyard bum fights where you where your uncle goes in the garage and gets 2 pairs of boxing gloves and says, "Okay, guys, let's go." This is professional prize fighting, bro. You can't get on TV and say, "I'm not going to fight a world champion in my weight class because he's my friend." If that's the case, then retire. I know what it is. You're trying to angle for a Manny Pacquiao fight or an Errol Spence rematch, and neither one of those fights are going to come. You better take that Terence Crawford opportunity while you have it.
There's a line that he and I agree that we're going to cross, and we'll go ahead and cross that line and handle the friendship after the fact. You know, but this is a decision that him and I made. It's 3 or 4 years now. You know, so that decision is a little outdated. Some things have happened since then. So, you know, we'll talk about it. But I'm not going to bother him now. I'll wait till after his fight, let him enjoy it, and then we'll talk.
But I mean, you should be. I mean, you should be happy because there was a point where Bob Arum put you at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
If he would consider anyone in PBC, it wouldn't be you.
Absolutely, and the reason why Bob Arum put him at the bottom was because up until maybe a couple of years ago, Shawn Porter was the least marketable fighter on the PBC. But especially in light of his performance against Errol Spence, and this is something that Bob Arum has been known to do for decades now. He will put one of his fighters into the ring against an opponent who's already fought a fighter who they're gunning for in the long term, and hope that his fighter does better against that opponent than that other fighter who they're gunning for did. He did that with Manny Pacquiao. He's been doing that for decades. He did it with De La Hoya, so on and so forth. Back 10 years ago, Bob Arum threw Manny Pacquiao in the ring with a drained Oscar De La Hoya and a drained Ricky Hatton, and tried to force the public, the boxing viewership, to compare Manny Pacquiao's performances against those two fighters with Floyd Mayweather's performances, because he was trying to build up the fight. Bob is trying to do that right now with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and he's using Shawn Porter as the guinea pig.
Now he's mentioning you, so I think I'll take that as, you know.
Well, it's flattering, but it's also he's contradicting himself.
No, he's not. He just understands that you're a useful pawn.
Because, you know, some odd months ago he said that I was at the bottom of the pole, and now
you were until you fought Errol Spence, bro. Your Errol Spence fight changed the entire paradigm for him. It changed the entire dynamic for him. Now he understands how he can use you.
Put me at the top.
But you know, yeah.
It's clear that he's...
That's a great fight. I think you should definitely talk to your friend and make that happen.
In other words, Abner Mares is saying, nigga, stop playing. Stop playing games, because you're not going to have a lot of big fight opportunities for the remainder of your career. You're most likely not going to get the Pacquiao fight. I mean, who knows? Manny Pacquiao sometimes will surprise people with his fight choices, but I don't think that he's going to get the Pacquiao fight. Right now, Pacquiao's still hoping and waiting for Floyd Mayweather to say yes. That's the only reason why he came to the PBC in the first place. I could see Manny possibly deciding to go with Shawn Porter down the line, especially if he cannot make the Floyd Mayweather rematch. But right now, Shawn needs to jump at whoever jumps at him, especially if he has a belt.
And we'll do that, you know. And I've said this publicly plenty of times. If we do fight, it'll be because he and I decide to do it.
But if Al were to counter that and come and say, you can have Manny Pacquiao instead of Terence Crawford, which is the more defining fight for you?
I think I do think that Manny's the more defining fight for me as well.
No, I think that Manny would probably be the more lucrative fight for you, most likely. But if you were to defeat Terence Crawford, that would by far and away be the more defining fight for you.
But he's also the #1 guy on my list, so that's right up my alley.
Shawn Porter, brother, no disrespect, maybe your father needs to throw a glass of ice cold water in your face in the morning. You don't have a list because you're not the A side. The only fighters on the PBC with the list are Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather if he comes back, and maybe Errol Spence. You don't have a list. You have to hope that other guys want to fight you.
Christmas time, baby.
Okay, well, almost a year ago in...
But anyway, that's basically it on that. I just wanted to cover this little topic because so many cats come on my channel talking about how the PBC fighters are ducking Terence Crawford. You have to understand that is rhetoric that's being used by Bob Arum and Terence Crawford because they ran out of opponents for Terence Crawford to fight. If they had opponents for Terence Crawford to fight, they would not be talking about any of the fighters on the PBC side. I promise you that. They would not. Terence Crawford is a great fighter, but he's someone who is woefully lacking in boxing business acumen, and I think that it's going to come back to haunt him years from now, but we'll see. And I also hear a lot of brothers talking about how the PBC, they do not acknowledge Terence Crawford. No, it's not that they don't acknowledge Terence Crawford. They don't acknowledge the WBO belt. The PBC has had ongoing litigations with the WBO sanctioning body for years now. They actually brought a lawsuit against Al Heyman back in 2015. So that's the issue with that. They have not even been acknowledging the fighter who used to have the WBO belt in their stable, that being Andy Ruiz. So that's the issue with that. It had nothing to do with Terence Crawford. But once again, just to get back to the topic of this video, if you're Terence Crawford, make this Shawn Porter fight happen. Because when and if you fight and beat him, then you could tell Errol Spence, you cannot make any more excuses about the opposite sides of the street. This dude, Chronicles of Judah, he can't keep talking about how you guys at the PBC don't have to fight me. Because Shawn Porter just fought me, I just whooped his ass. So you're next. If you're Terence Crawford, you have to be thinking like that. But anyway, peace.